is calling you. The universe is calling me. It speaks both day and night. It's full of dark and light.
Hello and welcome to SkyTour Radio, right here on KGRAradio.com. I'm your host, Mark D'Antonio, here with my outstanding co-host, Amanda Curran. How you doing, Amanda?
I'm all right. How are you, Mark?
I am okay. You know, in this week's show that we put together for you, I think you're going to really like. It's sort of timely, and you'll see what we're going to talk about in just a little while. First, I had to say, if you like astronomy and the night sky, then there is a place you can go where you can sit back in the comfort of your own living rooms and watch the beautiful night sky unfold. And that is a place called SkyTour Livestream. And in SkyTour Livestream, we have a live observatory, and we show you the night sky through the courtesy of really sensitive cameras. You'll see stellar birthplaces, remnants of dead and dying stars, glittering jewel boxes of stars in rich, rich clusters, globular clusters, 50,000 strong members of stars all orbiting each other. And it's a stream, too, where you can be in charge if you'd like to be. Tell us the objects you want to see, and if they're up, we'll go to them. Amanda is a co-host on SkyTour Livestream as well, and she has come a long way with her astronomy knowledge. I'm so proud of her. Let me tell you, from someone who didn't know a whole lot about astronomy to someone who can now interrupt me and answer a question that I'm about to ask her. She reads my mind.
Oh, here we go.
Yes, well, it's true.
I came off mute just in anticipation.
I'm not going to ask her any questions right now, folks, but we do have a very active chat group that asks questions, and they all want answers, you know, and so, you know, I am an astronomer, last I checked, and it's kind of fun having a knowledge of the universe because I can pass this on to people. They love to hear about the universe, and if I don't know something, I'm not going to sit there and say, I know what that is, and pretend. I'll say, I don't know, believe it or not. I'll actually say, I don't know. And now and then that happens. If you're interested in reading about astronomy, you can also pick up a book called The Populated Universe. It's available in 3 formats for 3 different budgets. It's an ebook, it's a 8x10 full color book, or it's a 6x9 black and white interior book. And it's a book that I wrote, actually, and it's about exoplanets, finding exoplanets, and the search for extraterrestrial life. So it can be had on Amazon. You can find it up there. And I think you might enjoy it. It's the kind of book that once you start reading it, I think you kind of want to see what comes next, you know? Now, SkyTour Radio also now has a call-in line. It's sponsored by the Paranormal app found on Google Play and on iTunes. And we'll be opening the lines a little later, I think, and that number will be 85KGRA Live. And for you that like numbers out there, that's 855-472-5483. Write that down, okay? 855-472-5483. We'd love to hear from you. Now, the phones won't be answered until we start taking calls, so I will let you know about that. And if you want to get involved with us, well, you know what? SkyTour Radio is starting something new. It's all about you, really. It really is. You folks out there, the listeners, the most brilliant listening audience, have pushed me to come up with new and interesting content, not just for the 1 hour we used to have, but now for 2 hours a week. We have to pump this stuff out. And you know what? I absolutely love it. And I think you do too, Amanda, don't you?
I do.
Yeah, she does. I know she does. She tells me off the air that she loves it. Actually, she gets mad when I have to not be able to do a show during one of the weeks. I had some things come up that I couldn't get out of, and I couldn't do a show, couldn't have time to write it. And she was getting mad at me saying, how come we're not doing a show?
I think people actually, get used to tuning in here Sunday night. It's part of the routine now, and I love it. So
I agree with you, and trust me, I don't take the KGRA duties lightly, and people know that, you know. So when I have to do other things, it literally tears at me because I can't stand it. But that said, we can certainly make up for that on some of these other nights, like tonight. This is a live show. We're really here. Now, normally you'd hear from Daryl Mason, who is here as another co-host with us here on Sky Tour Radio. But unfortunately, tonight, Daryl is under the weather. So let's get those healing energies out to Daryl out in Colorado, where he lives under the, beautiful night skies. If you drive a little bit away from where he lives, I guess. I'd love to know. I've seen some really dark skies out there, but I would love to know that he's getting better. So hopefully we'll see him next week or on Sky Tour live stream, as he has been popping in and being part of the live stream over the past several weeks so far now. He's can do that, but the radio show has been too much for him right now. But he'll get better. I know he will. When you get sick, let me tell you, you just don't want to do anything, right? We all know that well, especially these days. But he will be back. So that said, we will actually kind of dedicate this show to Daryl Mason tonight, actually. You know that? Because we're going to talk about something. We're going to talk about an astronomical phenomenon that involves him. And I'll tell you why in a little while when we get to it. So this is for our friend and co-host Daryl Mason, who is out there listening and smiling, going, "Oh, here we go." I really admire him. So if you also want to talk to us any other way, you can find us on Sky Tour Radio at kgraradio.com. That's our email, skytourradio at kgraradio.com. Now, first up here, I would like to see, first of all, if any of you would like to see something discussed on Sky Tour Radio, that's the email you send it to, skytourradio at kgraradio.com, and we will take that and probably put that into a future show. All right? And if you want to be named as the individual that gave us that information and that told us about it, that you want to see it, then we'll give you credit on the air. Love to do that for you. Okay? Because it's all about you, like I said. Now, coming back and circling back and speaking about all about you, many of you know that since Sky Tour Livestream, the live observatory that we do, is basically a public outreach remote observatory. We do this, remotely. It's not something that, we have to go sit in the dome anymore. I had to in the beginning, but it seemed too painful to the people watching because they would basically see me walking around the dome shivering in the middle of the winter. So now I figured out a way to do it from the comfort of inside. So I'm in a warm room the entire time, running the entire telescope and everything else. That said, that gave me the idea to build another one. And this we're calling Sky Tour Livestream West. East is the one here in northwestern Connecticut. But west is out in the Sonoran Desert in Arizona. And I want to just give you an update on the progress of that second observatory. For those that are interested, for those that aren't interested, you can tune out for the next 12 seconds. I purchased what's called a slit spectrometer for that telescope, and we're going to test it here at Sky Tour East. And it's going to be something that allows us to do different things than our current setup allows. Currently, we can look at the spectra of stars, and we can see lines in the spectrum that tell us what the star is made of. But if we try to look at a nebula or a diffuse object like a comet, for instance, we cannot see the data and the spectral lines in a comet, for instance, until now. We're going to be testing this new spectrometer that will be arriving, and we're going to be able to look at interesting objects no matter how faint. As long as we can take a photo of them, we can look at them in the spectrometer. And that's something that's coming soon. All right. And that'll just allow us some very specific analysis in real time from stars, comets, and nebulae. And we're looking forward to it. As far as the building, construction starts, as long as it stays on schedule, at the end of June. And we have a company that's coming out to build the building. We have a company that's coming out to install the roll-off roof. And the installation of the electronics, which I've built here, I will transfer over probably later in July. The idea is to have it open at least during the summer, because what I wanted to do was open at the end of this month. In other words, in just about 4 days, I wanted to open SkyTour Livestream West. But this virus has taken and slowed everybody down. So that's the update on SkyTour Livestream West. So we're looking now at a potential late July opening, and we'll have 2 full observatories up and running to be able to do some really cool stuff together and separately. All right, so that said, now we move on to the exoplanet roundup. Now, we've talked about exoplanets many times, and we talked about the roundup. We have the newest exoplanet of the week, the exoplanet of the day, right? Like soup of the day, exoplanet of the day. Well, this topic now concerns not just exoplanets, but guess what else we're able to see now? Exocomets. Yeah, comets around other stars, going through that star system. Now, let's talk about that just for a moment. We talk about comets and we talk about where they come from. Well, in the beginning here, we had what was called a solar nebula. Basically, it's the primordial soup of which the solar system was built. And inside that primordial soup, you can imagine that there are molecules and compounds that really wouldn't be able to exist very well near the sun. I'll give you a simple example. Ice, H2O in its frozen state, right? Its solid state. When H2O is in that phase of matter as a solid, we know that heat can affect it. Heat can cause it to melt. Now, when something's in space, it doesn't become water, okay? It'll sublimate, and that means goes right to a gaseous state. And so we'll end up with water vapor right away. But the ice will disappear, right? It'll take some time, okay, because the ice reflects a lot of the solar energy. However, in that early solar nebula, there were these, we call those volatiles, volatiles, volatiles. And these volatiles are things that will quickly go away under certain conditions, such as a hot sun. Now, volatiles can't exist near the star very well. They could exist farther from the star. And such is what happened here. When the non-volatile formation of the planets in the inner solar system occurred, we have planets that have atmosphere. The closer you get to the star, the hotter the atmosphere. It turns out Venus is closer than us, and its atmosphere is very hot and very dense. A lot of reasons for that. When we talked about planetary evolution in some shows in the past, we didn't really mention too much about the nature of volatiles, but Venus has a few, but not very many. Okay, Earth has more, Mars has a lot more, and onward and outward. Okay, and the volatiles can exist in an atmosphere on a gaseous planet, and they can exist in solid form, such as on the surface of Pluto. There's water ice and nitrogen ice on the surface of Pluto. Those are volatiles. Near the sun, Pluto wouldn't stand a chance. Pluto would become, it'd be gone, right? It would be evaporated down until just its rock was showing. So you can understand that these volatiles, and you won't find too many near the star. All right. So the sun, in our case, we have trillions, literally, possibly, I should say, trillions of comet-type objects out in the outer shell around the solar system. All right. That outer shell is like a sphere around our whole solar system called the Oort cloud. That's OORT. We also have something called the Kuiper belt. That's Kuiper. The Kuiper belt is out past Neptune, and it's like a disk, right? And these Kuiper belts, the Kuiper belt here contains a lot of icy bodies with lots of volatiles on their surface. but they're locked up in a forever freeze. And if they are comets, which they could be, then they are dormant as long as they're in a stable orbit circling the sun. And that's what a lot of these, most of these, if well, very, very much mostly actually, that the proportion is so highly over 99.9% that it's crazy, especially considering there might be trillions of them out there. And so they would be in stable orbits, and you just wouldn't get any kind of you wouldn't get any kind of evaporation out there. All right. So they would be called, like I said, dormant. Well, that said, let's take a look now at other star systems. Now, there's a star that we've known for some time we thought at least it had one planet. We found out it actually has two. And it actually has an extensive star system. We have planets, and we have a asteroid belt, a single asteroid belt. And then out past Neptune, we have a Kuiper belt. Then out past the Kuiper belt, we have an Oort belt, and then an Oort cloud around the entire solar system beyond that. But this particular star has something somewhat similar, but it's not exactly the same, which is excellent because it shows there's variability out there, lots of cool things. So this star is called Beta Pictoris. Who's heard of it? Raise your hand. Raise your hands. Oh, I can't see. I can't see. How come I can't see the people raising their hands? What's going on here? Because we're not doing KGRA TV that's fully interactive. Not yet. But that's going to be coming, I'm sure. Amanda, were you raising your hand? Have you heard of Beta Pictoris? Amanda's on mute.
My mouse got stuck and it wouldn't let me unmute. Sorry. No, I personally have not heard that term. Well, and I don't see many hands in chat here, but there's a bit of a delay. So, one person has. Kyle Lynch has.
Kyle Lynch. Kyle Lynch is one of our Discord super users. And if KGRA is looking for someone to help them with Discord, I would say he's your guy to go to. But you didn't hear it from me because I've never seen his capabilities yet. But I do know he talks a mean game, and I think that he can do a good job. But that's just me. So Beta Pictoris is a star that actually is well known because it's an A-type star. Now, Amanda, you know the different types of stellar classifications that we have. If you could rattle them off for everybody, please, and tell them what they mean.
Well, it goes from largest and hottest and bluest to smaller and cooler, but still very, very hot, but cooler than the bigger, bluer stars, smaller. And the scale can be remembered through a mnemonic called O be a fine guy, kiss me. It's OBAFGKM. Did I say that right? I missed a letter. Did I miss a letter?
You did not.
Okay. Sounded like it did. It didn't flow properly.
No, you said OBAFGKM. That's correct. And the M's are redder as well. You neglected to put that in. That's the only thing you forgot. But that's good because you got everything else right. So you would have got a B++ if this was actually a quiz question. You would have got a B++ for that question. If whatever you say, I'd give you a check mark. Because it did a good job. You're correct. Now, what's interesting about what she said is the O stars are hot and blue. The B stars are also hot and blue, but they're smaller, lower mass, not as high mass as the O stars. The O stars will always end in a supernova. The B stars will always end in a supernova. A stars may, but there's a 50-50 chance, maybe depending on their mass. But the A stars within any of the classification levels of OBAFGKM, you have a numerical assigned number that gives you the level to which they're that type. For instance, an O5 is much more hot and blue than an O9. Okay, and it goes from 0 to 9. Okay, so we have B0 to B9, A0 to A9, and so on. The sun is what, Amanda? Come on.
It's a G.
Yes.
And it's kind of medium and orange.
Yeah, but what's the number for the sun?
I want to say 5.
you would basically be chilling us a little bit by doing that, but we're a G2.
2. Oh, okay, 2.
Yeah. So we're not a G0, which is hotter, or a G1, but a G2. So we're that's where we fall. That's where we evolved. That's where the sun evolved to. That's where it came into existence at. Okay, is G2. Now this particular star, Beta Pictoris, is an A6, and it's a normal star that's fusing hydrogen into helium in its core, just like the sun. So we call it a normal main sequence star. It's doing the same thing that the sun's doing, just a lot more of it because it's hotter and more massive. Okay. Now, it has a planet, and planets, if you recall, when we talked about exoplanets, they're designated by small letters. So typically you'll have a planet B, a planet C, D, E, F, and the letters are assigned in the order they were discovered. So we know that there is a planet B discovered around this star. Okay, it's 9.2 astronomical units away from the star. All right, and it's 12 times the mass of Jupiter. So it's a huge gas giant, most likely. And then there's also another planet, planet C, and those are little b, little c. And that one is 2.7 astronomical units away. Okay, so a little farther than Mars from our sun. And it's 9 Jupiters in mass. So these are 2 big planets so far that we found. But there might be more going on there, and we can't really tell that much because we're not there. But here's the way this whole star system is laid out. We have the star. We have this planet C at 2.7 astronomical units. But then this star system has what might be a rubble belt or an asteroid belt or a dust belt that starts about 6.4 astronomical units from that star. And this particular dust belt has a width that's fairly substantial that we can see. And then we have planet B at 9.2 astronomical units out there, as I said. And then there's another disk of dust and debris at around 130 astronomical units. Now, for anyone who understands the anatomy of our solar system, this is sort of similar. That secondary disk of dust and debris at 130 astronomical units could be like our Kuiper belt. And that inner belt of dust at 6.4 astronomical units can sort of be like our asteroid belt. We're not sure if it's got asteroids in it or not. However, we do know that it is something that can basically overall be kind of like our solar system in its actual makeup. So overall, okay, but this particular star though, Beta Pictoris, actually has a main disk, all right, that's full of dust that goes from 16 astronomical units out to around 1,500 astronomical units. Now, by comparison, the Oort cloud around our star that has where the comets come from around our star goes out many thousands of astronomical units more. Okay, over 9,000 more astronomical units. So what that says is that we shouldn't expect maybe to see too many comets around this star. But guess what? We have found comets around Beta Pictoris. And it's a very interesting find, and the way they found them was through spectroscopy, that is looking at the spectrum of the star and noticing that every now and then there is a pollution to the star's spectrum that occurs because a comet is passing between the star and us. And we can see that it's a comet based on what we're seeing in the spectrum. And this is interesting because I can't point out enough, I can't say this enough to you guys. This particular branch of science, astronomy, can only utilize the light we see coming from another object. That's all it does. We can't feel the heat of other stars. We can't measure the force directly of the stellar wind of another star. we can only calculate the values expected based on things we know about stars. And there's a lot we know about stars. And for instance, when I was getting my degree in astronomy, one of the things we had to do, one of my project actually, not my thesis, but the actual thing I did was, it was like just a class project that we each had to do and do it right. Okay. It took months, and we literally had to build a star using all the right energy generation equations from the core of the star out to the lesser areas of the star that don't do nuclear fusion but still have a functional role to play in the makeup of that star. Now, if your star failed, well, then it would have collapsed and gone to a white dwarf, basically, because you would have had a failure of nuclear fusion. Or if you did something wrong, then the star could be disrupted, that is, destroyed. You didn't want either of those things. You wanted to have a happy little star in something we call hydrostatic equilibrium, where the pressure pushing out from radiation being pushing out of the star equals the force of gravity trying to crush it. And now you have a star that just sits there and happily chugs along. My star happily, huh?
Oh, no, I was going to say, and you can all ponder how you can create a star over this commercial break.
Oh, and that's coming up, isn't it?
I look for the segues when I can find them, yeah.
I am very glad.
They're not always great, but hey.
You know what? We'll thank you, Amanda. We all thank you. And we'll be right back, to talk more about this right after these words.
Okay, nurse, let's get this man to the ER stat.
Right away, doctor.
We see this every day. Heart attack or angina pain due to blocked and clogged arteries. Chelation can remove obstructions or blockages from arteries and help avoid painful and expensive surgery. Now there's Angioprim. It's a liquid oral chelation product that you take with juice. You start to feel the results fast. Angioprim increases blood flow all over the body, and that means more energy and strength to take on the day with less aches and pains. 60 years of research has gone into chelation, and Angioprim is the result. A safe and easy way to unblock your veins and arteries from buildup that slow circulation.
Paging Dr. Jones. Please report to the emergency room right away.
Log on now to angioprim.com. That's ANGIOPRIM.com. Or to speak with a trained consultant. Give Angioprim a call at 954-882-7221. That's 954-882-7221.
Folks, this is very important information. What's to be said about CBD? AncientLifeOil.com. Our CBD is made from hemp and has 0.003 THC, which means this wonderful product won't get you high, no matter what amount you take. What does CBD do for the body? My hands are tied. But you can Google CBD benefits and be astounded. When you're finished reading, you'll want to log on to AncientLifeOil.com. That's AncientLifeOil.com. and purchase. Life is good when you feel good. People are tired of pain. People are asking for non-GMO organic products to help them with, you fill in the blank. Legal in 49 states, and again, our CBD is made from hemp. Ancient Life Oil is about helping people one by one by one. If you wonder how good the product is, the CEO takes it every day without miss. AncientLifeOil.com. That's AncientLifeOil.com. Have a great day. Why is it we're not very good with our health regimen until it's too late? We don't put oil in the car until the engine blows up. When the body's out of balance, your health is not so good. Give your body some love. Log on to GetTheT.com. That's GetTheT.com. Try our Life Change Tea, which cleanses you from harmful intruders. A clean colon is one of the ways to bring the body in balance. We also carry organic supplements to help you get where you need to go. So do your body a favor. Log on to GetTheT.com. That's GetTheT.com. You can even visit our sales page to save some dough. Does anybody call money dough anymore? Anyway, if you're looking for short, helpful health tips, go to YouTube and punch in Health Matters Now. That's Health Matters Now. So, log on to GetTheT.com, shop, get balanced, then learn some cool tips at Health Matters Now. You'll be glad you did. That's GetTheT.com.
Mainstream media's most wanted. KGRAradio.com.
Hey, welcome back to Sky Tour Radio. I'm Mark D'Antonio. At least I still think I am. Let me look. Yes, I am still me. Amanda, are you still you?
After 24 hours of Gish, I don't know.
Tell us how tell our listeners what Gish is, because I'd like to kind of give that a little bit of a plug. It's for all for a good cause. Tell our listeners, will you?
Thank you. Yeah, actually it is. It's a nonprofit charity organization that Misha Collins, star of Supernatural, runs. He's been running it since 2011, and every year we get together. I say we, everyone in the world that wants to play, do funny little pictures and videos, and just send out positive vibes in the world for a week once a year, and raise money for good causes and whatnot. This year, obviously, with the quarantine, we did a one-day pop-up, 24-hour stay-at-home Gish, and it was $15 to play. Every $15 sign-up went to provide 10 meals to kids who were going without due to the school closures. So,
Well,
not bad to be helping people sitting at home. So,
and then I felt honored to be able to help you with one of your Gish requirements.
I still don't know how you did it. 25 minutes left in the hunt, and he pulled off a gorgeous picture.
Tell folks.
I'll post that in chat, actually.
Well, tell people who don't see the chat what you do for Gish. Tell what it is. What is Gish? People have no idea still what you do for Gish.
It used to be Gish Wish, and it stood for the greatest scavenger hunt the world has ever seen. Now it's just shortened to Gish because no one could pronounce Gish Wish. So it's just the greatest internet scavenger hunt. And Misha will assign us random challenges, things you have to recreate, things you have to invent, weird ways of accomplishing menial goals and tasks. One of them with the recent Zoom boom that everyone is signing up for, he had a Zombie meeting. So all the panels of the squares for a typical Zoom meeting had to be all filled in with zombies. And in about 20 minutes, he had a gorgeous picture. And so anyone in Discord chat, I'll throw that in, and I'll put it on my Facebook, but we'll get it out there.
I think that's pretty cool. And I certainly wasn't plugging my Photoshop skills. Anyone with Photoshop could have done what I did.
Well, I will give people fair warning. I'm releasing videos as the show is progressing, and by the end of the show, shameless plug, I rarely ever do it for myself, Danny Fan 1 on YouTube. You might want to check out for the next hour and a half as videos come. There should be about 5 videos. I am saving the best for last. And our wonderful producer, Mr. Bill Skywatcher, played an integral role in this item. Maybe you guys won't be interested. Maybe you'll find it boring. I would strongly suggest you check it out for fun anyway.
Well, there you go, folks. All right, so check out Gish on Danny Fan 1, DHANIFAN numeral 1. That's Amanda, our wonderful co-host, YouTube channel. Check it out now. I'm going to go check it out, too, because believe it or not, I don't know what the videos are, and no one's telling me, and it really gets me mad. But it's okay.
It'll be worth it.
I'll wait and see. Anyway, so as you can see, Sky Tour Radio does like to do things that help people. We're public outreach, and we as individuals do public outreach things too to help people that don't have as much as we may, as well. And that's what Amanda does with Gish, and we are all so proud of her. Thank you, Amanda.
Actually, there is a good question that came in earlier from Kathy that I love this question, and I think I know the answer, and I'd like to see if we can get that answer changed, actually. Kathy wants to know if you are doing anything special video-wise for the kids while they're being homeschooled. I don't think you are at the moment, but why aren't we?
Well, actually, I basically have, with Sky Tour Livestream, I invited, kids to come on as well. And I think that it would be kind of cool to have kids be part of the Sky Tour live stream when we're actually running the observatory, have them be on there with us on the call. obviously supervised by parents, of course. And we've had a few people that have had other cousins and friends come into a SkyTour live stream, and they'll say, hey, I've got so-and-so with me here today. It's our cousin. Okay, they're in grade school, blah, blah, blah. And I would tailor what I was saying to kids in grade school. And I did that for this very last stream as well. You were there, Amanda. You were there. You remember this was one of our listeners, the pair. They come in as a pair.
Daisy and Zoe?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Okay. And they had one of their cousins in there who was in grade school, and we talked about the things for them, and we talked about the things they could do in astronomy and trying to help kids get interested in astronomy. I mean, it's what I'm all about. It's like, I knew, as people know, you've heard me state it probably too much, I knew at age 9 I was going to be an astronomer. And from that point forward, literally, everything I did was tailored toward being an astronomer. Why? I don't know. Actually, I do know. It was because I could look up at night, especially in a dark, starry night, and I would look up and literally feel homesick. I was like, oh, I belong out there. I just know I belong out there. So that feeling translated to learning about out there, studying out there, and then studying here, studying under the ocean, studying where life began in our ocean, and studying how that all happens. And I was like 9.5 when I did that. No, I was kidding. I was actually more like 14 or 15 when I started getting books on this type of subject. And some of the books I had in a prayer of being able to understand because they were college level texts. And, it didn't really work for me except to put these really cool books on my bookshelf. And when people came over, they said, you're reading that? And I go, yeah. And then I say, well, not really. I didn't get it. But in time, those books became elementary, over time. And so there's a lot of information about how this planet formed. And tonight our topic, as you probably guessed, is comets. And we're going to talk about comets because of the fact that comets are very important to how life may have occurred and arose here on this world, and maybe others, all right, in not just our solar system. Yes, you heard right. Not just our solar system, but maybe other stars that have planets around them with comets as well, like Beta Pictoris. Maybe there's a role that comets play there as well. And so, I think that trying to tailor the discussions in astronomy toward children is very important because, even I think science is reachable by anyone. And anyone who knows me knows that I say that. I think it's reachable by anyone. You just have to say it in the words that they understand at the moment. The more technical stuff can come later. Right, Amanda? You don't need to know about the temperature ranges of an O star versus a B star and why a B star probably can't support planets around it, but an A star can. You don't need to know that yet, do you?
Thank goodness.
Well, no, not yet. Okay.
And that's the thing, and that's what's really great about this show. All the time, I want to ask questions, but I don't know the right terms.
Yeah.
But now you're pretty good at reading where I'm going with questions, whether I use the right term or not. But it's almost like teachable moments kind of for you. And, you've always been really patient. So I hope that encourages other people to ask questions. There really is no stupid question. And I think I prove that quite often on the show. So that's how you learn. And, knowing that you'll always answer my questions in a kind way, it just, gives me the confidence to keep asking more and more. And then I get more interested in it because it makes more sense. And oh my gosh, I'm learning.
When anyone understands a concept that is out of their reach, it's like a light bulb going off in their head. And when that light bulb goes off, they don't say, oh, okay, great. Any more pizza? No, it's like, oh, that's great. Tell me more. And they want to push their limits. It's a natural thing. The human animal is hungry for knowledge too. And they want to fill that brain of theirs, which, by the way, can never be full. Just little research there. And that said, when you show promise in astronomy, Amanda, I turn around and say, look, she knew nothing about astronomy coming in, and now she'll interrupt me whenever she wants to, and finish my sentences sometimes in astronomy. And it's not because she's being rude, not because you're not, I'm talking about you, of course, not because you're being mean and just want to get your word in to show people you know what you're talking about. That's not what you do. You're excited. You're energetic. You have an energy about this because it's been made to be enjoyable and fun, right? And that's
I think even watching other people, like if it's something that I understand and someone just new coming into it, like just when you can see, I mean, you can't see it over the radio, but hopefully you can hear it in my voice, that glint in the eye when it's like, hold on, I just made a connection. And then it just opens the possibility for so many more questions, right? And that's how it builds. And I think people, all kind of basically want to cheer each other on and want to have, like, be witness to people having that kind of experience,
Yes.
Maybe it's just me. I love it. I love seeing it in other people. And, I've been given props in chat when I have my aha moments. So
yeah. And
it's a great community anyway, so maybe
is.
we're just lucky.
Yeah, and well, we have a great set of listeners on KGRA, and we have tremendous viewers on SkyTour live stream as well. For instead of SkyTour radio, we have SkyTour live stream where it's the same pool of people sometimes, and sometimes there's brand new faces. The SkyTour live stream has been gaining subscribers left and right lately, and it's probably because of the worldwide quarantine type process, but that's coming to an end soon. So I think that.
But I hope people don't lose that, craving for it. Like, some people might just find it because, they're just looking for live videos. They can't sleep in the middle of the night. They're bored, whatever. But I hope this really catches that, when people kind of quiet themselves and kind of, I mean, I don't want to say get back to nature, but, it almost seems like a lot of people are feeling that way.
Yeah.
And I hope that people realize, oh yeah, when's the last time I just stopped and looked up and just appreciated the sky, People being so busy. I hope this is a nice reminder and that it actually sticks when things go back to the new normal, right?
Yeah, and the other problem too, and this, you folks listening, you know this, our wonderful audience, many people are listening from cities and suburbs that don't really have good starry skies. Now, I've said this before, the sky is an ecosystem all its own. And it's an ecosystem which can either bring you psychological comfort or it can be oppressive. Now, I don't mean about the weather being bad. I'm talking about a clear sky. A blue sky day is always is always different for people than a rainy day. A rainy day, it just doesn't have the same type of appeal. Okay. I've tried for years. I look at a rainy day. Okay. Like it's really rainy and windy here today. And I look at that as if it doesn't blow our dome down, which hasn't yet, and it won't, I'm sure. This is an example of a planet that has fertile land. And the rain is an essential part of keeping the land hydrated and allowing life to continue. Without the rain, this couldn't happen. And I compare it to Venus. Venus has an atmosphere 90 times denser than ours, and the temperature on the ground's a balmy 900 degrees Fahrenheit. You can convert that to Celsius if you wish. And at 900 Fahrenheit, under crushing pressure, you wouldn't last but a split second as a human body. So that just thinking about other planets and what we would face elsewhere, I tend to go outside and think, you know what, this rain soaking me through or getting in my shoes in the puddle I stepped in, this is not something to be bemoaned and belittled. This is something to actually be celebrated, because that's something happening on our planet that has brought the life that we so enjoy, and that's so I try to look at rainy days that way as well. Rainy days is just the way of the earth rejuvenating the ground, and getting that cycle going. It's called the water cycle. Where was this molecule of water 10 years ago or 20 years ago or a million years ago, where was this molecule of water? It may very well have remained intact. This molecule could have been around at a time when Neanderthals were walking on the planet. If only molecules could talk. There's so much information, and that may spark a whole bunch of questions about the intelligence of water. There's actually research into the memory capability of water, believe it or not, and it's not fringe research. It's actually some really interesting stuff. So, and that water that we so enjoy or bemoan has come to us in part from the comets that are in our system. Just like Beta Pictoris has comets that are moving through it in between us and the star, our sun has comets that come through. And although there's only a couple comets that are visible to the human eye each year, there's a lot more. It's estimated, by the way, that in the outer Oort cloud, where the comets seem to originate, these long period comets that take many years to go through their cycles, the comets out there could number in the trillions, not billions, not millions, not hundreds, trillions. So that's how many little pieces of debris are out there that may very well all be comet bodies in part. Now, this is something we're going to talk about a little later as well, and so we'll get to that. But when you look at comets throughout, they've been here forever. They've been part of our history. You see them in the history books, and sometimes not for all the right reasons. Now, interesting, the Chinese characterized comets as long-haired stars. Isn't that interesting? Long-haired stars. Well, you must be you're a comet, Amanda. You're a star and you have long hair, right?
I do.
Yeah, so you're a long-haired star. You're gonna be Comet Amanda.
Yay.
And what's interesting is the records of these ancient comets were excellent for modern astronomers too, because they gave a historical record that we could trace and track, and that actually helped us, for instance, to determine orbits of some of these comets. No, the data wasn't nearly as good as it is today, but it gives us an order of magnitude, a better understanding of the comets. Now, sometimes comets also did some negative things. I don't know if you have ever heard of the comet hysteria that has occurred throughout history, those of you listening, but there have been many that had said that comets are harbingers of doom, right? So as harbingers of doom, comets brought panic. Now the panic here, it was actually kind of in Europe, that was the highest from 1200 to about 1650 AD. That's about the range of time. That's not the only time comets brought panic, but that's the range of time where cometary panics were at their highest. Now, it didn't really help that in 1618, there was a really gorgeous comet that came through. If it came through, I would have looked at it going, wow, look at that beautiful thing. I don't know what it is because it's in the 1600s and we have no idea what those are now. But man, that's beautiful. It's a long-haired star, maybe. All right. But the comet of 1618 was called the Great Comet of 1618. And the reason was because of its beautiful visible nature. And it was visible at night to a lot of people. And of course, the folks that were in religious folks, the clerics, they thought that this was a sign that the judgment day was coming. The end of the world was nigh. It's like, okay, they said rivers would change their course. Earthquakes would destroy cities and towns and kill people. Hot and dry weather would cause droughts, and there'd be hailstorms. There'd be poor harvests, and of course, war would break out. And none of that happened, but that didn't stop them. When 1680 came around, the Great Comet of 1680 stated to be responsible for the worldwide floods from the book of Genesis. How? Well, by pouring water all over the earth as it went by, of course. Isn't that what comets do? Well, No, of course not. But that was the prevailing faulty understanding at work. And there was also a propensity to tie every single astronomical apparition of a comet to either every astronomical apparition, planetary or cometary, to either a reward or a punishment from a supreme being. It was always tied, usually, to some type of punishment when it came to comets. How that ever happened, I don't know. Because when you look at a comet in the sky, the first thing you want to think of is, wow, that is stunning. But how could people look at a comet and go, oh no, quick, get the kids inside the thatched roof house? I mean, I guess I can understand that if you don't know what something is, it could be a little frightening, I guess, right? But what would happen, I wonder, if things were different? What if comets were considered good omens? What if all comets were considered good omens? How would we look now as a civilization if the wars and the other comet-caused calamities never occurred? I wonder where we'd be right now. Now, after 1680, let's jump ahead to Halley's Comet in 1910. Halley's Comet in 1910, we know it was a repeating comet. It comes back every 76 years or so. And back then, and something we talked about on a show with Daryl, and that's the reason why we're dedicating the show to Daryl, because he brought this story to our attention, and I just can't seem to let go of it. Before the apparition of Halley, before the comet was actually seen, they actually were able to take a spectrum of the comet as it was approaching. That I say seen with the eye. And as it approached, the people wanted to know what this thing was in the sky. It was still a harbinger of doom, doom, doom. So Camille Flammarion, the 1800s version of Stephen Hawking of his day, right? In terms of being a household name, certainly not by intelligence, because Hawking certainly stands alone. Camille Flammarion had a famous faux pas. He basically said that since the spectral signature of Halley's Comet shows a really interesting compound in the comet's coma, which is the area around the nucleus, that compound was identified as cyanide. Well, it was cyanogen, and that's toxic to all life. And then Flammarion famously flubbed when he said that if the Earth went through the tail of Halley's Comet, we would all have been snuffed out, or we would all be snuffed out by the cyanide molecules in the comet's coma and tail. Oh, he was famously, blatantly wrong, happily. Now, the presence of these cyanogen molecules is one thing, and cyanogen is a carbon atom and a nitrogen atom, bonded to each other. Okay, the presence of those is one thing, but the concentration, the density per cubic centimeter, is the important part. And at that time, there was nothing known about that. But the material, that this glowing cloud of stuff around the comet's coma, that's rarefied. It's extreme. That means it's extremely low density, only a few atoms per cubic centimeter, not billions of atoms per cubic centimeter. So you have to remember that the comas of comets, and I'll tell you more about this too, that these can be hundreds of thousands of miles across, and there's not a lot of cyanogen molecules there, okay, because that stuff is spread so thin over such a big distance. Nevertheless, Flammarion's flub led to panicked people buying products to save them from the toxic doom that was approaching from the skies. You could buy comet masks, that is, gas masks for comets. Anti-comet pills, sort of like Batman's anti-penguin knockout gas pills, Robin, old chum, okay? As well as, most laughable, comet umbrellas. Yeah. I'm telling you, man, the gas mask makers, the pill makers, and the umbrella makers, they cashed in big time on gullible people. And don't you see that now? Don't you see that now with some of the marketing schemes going on out there? So, and such was life in the unscientific marketing world of the early 1900s. I think that is pretty bad, you know. Comments from you, Amanda? Anything to say at this point?
No, I'm just listening.
Yeah.
I mean, Bill posted something in chat about imagine this hitting Earth, and it was Comet Shoemaker. I mean, Jupiter literally saved us on that one, you know.
And that's true. Okay, Jupiter is the big shepherd in our solar system. Jupiter will actually, and it does this with the asteroids. It does this with comets. It does this with other things called scattered disk objects. It does this with centaurs, which are another type of object out there. It does this with a lot of other errant objects. And Jupiter is, next to the sun, the biggest gravity well in the solar system. Its reach is extensive. And you will find that objects near Jupiter will inevitably get pulled in a direction other than they were going in. And if they were heading for us, they would then be curved and heading somewhere else. But sometimes Jupiter's gravity, if these objects are close enough to it, Jupiter's gravity will shred them and rip them apart. And that's because they get too close. And when they get too close, that means that Jupiter can then capture them, and they might terminate and end by colliding with Jupiter itself. Such is what happened with Comet Shoemaker-Levy 9. Shoemaker-Levy 9 was was a comet that ended up striking Jupiter's upper atmosphere. And it was just amazing to see. I actually saw it live because I was outside with my telescope. And this was like in July of 1994, actually. And I was living 1 mile from here, and I saw this happen. And I had to wait for Jupiter to rotate around, but when it did, I saw the black scars that were thousands of miles across Jupiter's upper atmosphere. We don't have thousands of miles in our atmosphere. Okay, so Jupiter saved our butts on that one.
And I hear those lines are healing, but maybe we could pick that up after break.
Yeah, we're ready to go to a break, yeah. And so when we come back, we'll talk about some more about the cometary conundrums, and we'll be right back, guys. So stick with us here on Sky Tour Radio with me and Amanda tonight.
Hey, this check is wrong. I worked a holiday and 7 hours of overtime. Not getting paid correctly is a real pain. It could also hurt our boss if our company provides out-of-compliance checks. That's right, construction companies doing business with the government can get fined, or officials of the companies can go to jail if the checks aren't right. It's a law. The Davis-Bacon Act has 30 compliance issues for every check, but there is an easy way for construction companies to be in compliance. EMARS offers Compliant Client, a web-based system that finds and corrects all 30 of the possible out-of-compliance check issues. Users of Compliant Client report an 80% savings in time and money. Running a weekly payroll usually takes about 5 minutes. All 15,000 plus clients of EMARS have never had a legal compliance issue. Plus, they sleep better on check day. Contact EMARS at emarsinc.com or call 480-595-0466.
For the thousands of wounded warriors returning from battle, Wounded Warrior Project has developed the Warriors to Work program, a career counseling service that helps wounded warriors translate their military experience to a civilian job. These extraordinary men and women bring more than just teamwork and inspiration to the workplace. They bring proven world-class job skills. And to ensure proper placement, Wounded Warrior Project works with employers to find just the right job fit. Talented, skilled, and eager to get back to work, you have the opportunity to hire a seasoned veteran. Contact Wounded Warrior Project at findwwp.org. Welcome home the brave.
Every 2 seconds, someone needs blood. Whether it's a natural disaster or one single child suffering from illness, the American Red Cross stands ready to supply blood when it's most needed. But blood is a perishable product. Therefore, it must continuously be replenished. You can safely donate blood every 56 days. The need is constant and patients are waiting. Call your American Red Cross at 1-800-GIVE-LIFE to schedule your life-saving appointment. Please give blood today. Patients are depending on you.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app. Free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
Hey everyone, this is Nick Redfern and you're listening to Sky Tour Radio with Mark D'Antonio on the KGRA network, and so are the Men in Black.
Now you have the inside contact for alternative talk radio. The Planet. KGRAradio.com.
Hey, welcome back to SkyTour Radio. It is I, Mark D'Antonio, the fearless leader of SkyTour. No, that's silly. We're all leaders, aren't we? Amanda's probably calling all the shots. I don't even realize it. I bet you that's true, Amanda. So anyway, when we were talking about comets earlier, and talking about the anti-comet pills, it just reminded me. People are so gullible sometimes. So gullible sometimes, and it's sad, but it's human nature. People worry about things, right? I mean, it's okay to worry because that's how you make progress in getting rid of the things that are bothering you. I'm worried I'm going to hit that bridge with my car. Well, then steer the other way, that kind of thing. So, however, this is always going to be there. There's always going to be people that try to take advantage of other people, just like with the current COVID crisis, people hoarding alcohol. That is isopropyl rubbing alcohol. I was looking to buy 16 ounces of the typical bottle that maybe costs you a few bucks in a grocery store or a pharmacy. And I went online to see if I could find it. And I found it up there, sure. $75 for a 16-ounce bottle. Of course, that this is gouging. And it is illegal. And they're cracking down on a lot of these people. And there's one guy that thought he was going to make a killing, and he makes no bones about it. Him and his brother, they were going to make a killing, and they were making $30,000 a month fleecing people, and they were proud of it. And then when they got shut down by Amazon and then by eBay, well, then they were like, well, now what do we do? You do what you were doing before, okay? Because you creep. You got what you deserve. I'm glad you're stuck with 110,000 bottles of sanitizer. And they are now having to donate it all to charities. So, hey, that's what you get. You play dirty, that's where it goes. Anyway, so aside from people being sold comet gas masks and anti-comet pills and sanitizer at, the cut rate price of $100, we ask, when we talk about comets again, what are they really? Are they really something to fear? Not really. They're 4.6 billion-year-old remnants of the early solar system. And we once referred to them as dirty snowballs, but there's actually a lot more to them than just water. There's water, yes, but that term dirty snowball just simplifies their composition and making it sound like that they're not very complex, but that's exactly wrong. They're very complex. And Amanda asked the question of me, I think in a SkyTour live stream, Amanda, you asked me, what's the difference between a comet and an asteroid?
Yeah, well, I know we covered that a long time ago, but, like I said, unless I talk about it every day, and it only happens once in a while. So I don't know. I thought there was an asteroid or a meteor shower the other day.
Lyrics.
22nd. Was it? Yeah. And then like our producer, Bill was following the meteor shower and you were over following the comet. So I thought, maybe people are thinking these are somehow linked. Maybe, I don't know. I just thought while we were talking about it, it would be good to kind of go over the similarities and differences of what's going on. Yeah.
Actually, a very, very good question, actually.
Timely, I thought. Yeah.
is timely, and that's why we're going to answer that tonight and more. Now, when we talk about comets versus asteroids, there is a huge difference between what a comet is and what an asteroid is. Now, that difference, though, is apparent only when the object makes its way nearer to the sun. Now, when it does, the sun has ultraviolet radiation and it has solar wind. What's the solar wind? Solar wind is not wind like air. It's actually a high energy stream of protons and electrons, okay, that comes from the sun. It streams out, it's electrically charged, and it interacts with atoms. Remember, atoms have charge, and so it interacts with charged particles everywhere. And if it ionizes, if the energy is so high that the electrons in an atom that's part of a compound on the comet, if that electron jumps off the atom, well, now that atom has a positive charge, and it is subject to being moved around by the charged solar wind. And when that happens, the particles fly off the comet, and because of the solar energy striking the surface of the comet, it's hot on one side, it's cold on the other. The comet is slowly spinning, perhaps rapidly spinning. And as it does this, the icy concoctions on the surface of the comet will sublimate, and the particles of dust and ices will go up into the area around the comet and cause this glow that you see. Now, this glow is what we see around the nucleus of a comet, and it's called the coma. And it consists of particles of ice and molecules of carbon-based compounds that actually will reflect sunlight and also glow from interactions with that solar wind. All right. Now, particles of ice can reflect sunlight, and that glow is caused by the solar wind. All right. So when that glow is seen by our telescopes or our eye, it looks like it's green. And it is green. It's a characteristic color. It's the color of cyanogen, okay? Carbon and nitrogen, CN. It's also the color of what happens when they ionize other carbon compounds, when this radiation ionizes these other carbon compounds, okay? And this, once these particles and atoms are in motion off the nucleus, they keep going. They're not gravitationally bound to this nucleus. The comet is so active that whatever is propelling them off the surface is more than enough to overcome whatever feeble gravitational force this cometary body, a couple kilometers in diameter, might actually have. And so they keep going. So the coma, the glow around the head of a comet, can literally be as much as 400,000 miles in diameter, half the diameter of the sun almost. In actuality, that's 644,000 kilometers. All right. Now, the current comet that we've been looking at in SkyTour Livestream East of late, and that's almost every time we have a clear sky, we look at it to keep track of it and how it's looking now, is Atlas Y4. That's all caps ATLAS, and then the letter Y and the number 4. Atlas Y4 has been our subject, and it was almost the half the diameter of the sun. And now the sun is 864,000 miles, 865,000, let's say, and half of that is 432,500. And that's nearly 700,000 kilometers. That's 50 Earths, okay? And that is about the diameter of just the coma around an object that you couldn't even see if it was orbiting the Earth, if you're looking at it from the moon, okay? And it'd be 50 Earths wide. So you see there's a lot of stuff that's getting spread off of this tiny little piece of icy material mixed with rock, and that's the nucleus of the comet. And so when we see this stuff around the comet, it's again, the nucleus is the tiniest piece that you just can't expect that it's large, and it's not. Comets are tiny little things, roughly. Now, here's some basics about comets that I think will be helpful too. They can be periodic in nature, meaning they come back again and again. And they were captured by the sun's gravity and are now in an orbit of some type. And that's until they completely evaporate, because comets do have a lifetime. Now, we're going to talk about that too. Now, they can have what are called long or short periods. And the period, or the time to return, can be anywhere from a few years to many tens of thousands of years. And it depends where the other end of a comet orbit lies. And it also depends on how elliptical the orbit is. Now, an ellipse is a squashed, long, what could have been a circle. If you imagine a rubber band, sitting it down on a table, and it looks round, take your fingers and put one on each end of the rubber band, one on each end, and stretch it apart. Now you have effectively an ellipse. So where your left finger is, you feel the tension from the other side of the rubber band. From your right finger, you feel the tension from the other side, the left side. Okay, and now you have this stretched rubber band between your fingers. Well, if your left finger represents the sun, your right finger represents the other end of its orbit. Okay, so you have these kind of elliptical orbits like this for comets, and they tend to be this long, thin, elliptical orbit like this. And the reason has to do with how they ended up being captured by the sun. All right. Now, when we talk about orbits in general, let's talk about that for a second. All right. You know that some orbits can be roughly circular, right? Amanda, the Earth goes around the sun in a circular orbit, correct?
I didn't think it was perfectly circular, but...
Oh, you got my trick question.
Ooh! Well, I see. Don't do that, because then I start doubting myself.
No, I tried to get you, and you didn't fall for it. You knew it. See, this is what I'm talking about, folks, okay? This woman knows more than she's letting on, I'm telling you. Well, anyway, great job. Yes, the Earth's not quite circular. In fact, what planet in our solar system has the most circular orbit? And knowing the fact that none are a perfect circle. Now, all of you out there in chat and listening, you have 8 guesses.
I have 30 seconds to guess before they hear.
Well, you have 8 guesses, right? So let me get you started.
It's not Pluto.
No, that's how I was going to get you started. Very well done. To get you started in this thinking, Pluto has a very elliptical orbit compared to the others, and it has it's much more oval. Now, how do we define oval? I want to talk about that because that's really important. And while our folks are listening and trying to figure out what the most circular orbit is in our solar system, let's look at how we gauge that. We know that Earth is not an entirely circular orbit because, as you'll see, but we use the term eccentricity to describe how uncircle-like an orbit is. If an eccentricity, right? If an eccentricity equals 0, that means the orbit, get this now, I'm going to say it slow, the orbit is not at all uncircle-like and is therefore a circle. Okay? So saying it in terms...
Say that again, hold on. It's
I will.
Not uncircle-like?
Yes.
Is that like an astronomer's term?
No, it's actually a term to help understand what eccentricity is. It's my term. So if an eccentricity equals 0, that means that it's a circular, perfect circle orbit, okay? It means that it's not at all uncircle-like, which is what eccentricity gives us, all right? It's sort of a double negative, which equals a positive, see? So that's a little nutty, okay?
That's why it's hard on the ear, yeah.
Yeah, that's okay, because trust me, I've been through so many of these hard-on-the-ear classes in my life and doing.
Do you think they do that to make you listen harder and really think about what you're being told?
I just did it for that reason.
Yeah. Well, clever. I'm picking up on it.
You are.
Not as subtle as you think you're being.
I'm not trying to be.
Okay.
So the question then about which one has the closest circular orbit, I don't know if anyone has answered in chat, but I'd love to know before I go through it. Okay, that's fine. I'm going to actually go through it then. To answer that question.
I have some theories.
Okay, well then TikTok. Let's go. Tell me.
I want to say Mercury. And I want to say maybe it has something to do with its closest to the sun, possibly gravitational.
So you're saying that it's one of the most circular orbits?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Mercury.
Is that your final answer?
It's one of them. I've ruled out 2. That's my first guess.
Okay. I will give you a second guess as well, and then we can see how they fare. Go ahead. What's your second guess?
Well, the other one was kind of wild, and it really is really far out there.
And which is it?
Saturn, because of its rings.
Okay.
Maybe that plays a factor on kind of evening out the tilt.
Okay, so shall we judge your answer? No.
People are saying Jupiter, and I'm thinking maybe because it has so many moons, maybe that affects it. I don't want to just randomly guess planets. I'm trying to think what's around them. Yeah. Yes, exactly. Even if it's way, way out there. I mean, I'm trying, guys.
No, this is great, and that's what this is trying to do. See,
Charles and Kyle are saying Jupiter, though. I think we might be onto something.
Okay, so Charles and Kyle are saying Jupiter.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you say I give you 2 guesses because you're my co-host. You said Mercury and Saturn. Okay, well that's 4 out of the 8. Okay, we know Earth's not as circular as it could be, but I didn't say it's not circular, did I?
Ooh, another trick question. What are you doing?
Oh no.
Okay.
I asked honestly. Okay.
Well, Eric is saying maybe possibly ours.
Okay. All right. Well, so we have a vote for Earth as the most circular orbit. We have a vote for Mercury. We have 2 votes for Jupiter, 1 vote for Saturn.
Kathy's saying maybe either Venus or Neptune, but I don't think she heard the question.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh. So
which of our planets in our solar system has the most close to circular orbit? Am I phrasing it right?
You are.
Okay.
In other words, and in terms of the science folks out there, that means an eccentricity closest to 0. Knowing that none of the planets are at 0. That's a perfect circular orbit. But in this solar system with so many things to disturb your orbit over time, like Jupiter and other planets, that just isn't going to happen. All right, so we have an additional 2 votes for Venus and for Neptune.
Well, now that she heard, let's give her a minute.
Minutes are precious on radio.
I know. I'm just thinking. Now I'm thinking about Earth again. Maybe because we're in the Goldilocks zone. Maybe if we weren't as close to 0 as we are, maybe life wouldn't exist.
Okay.
See, I'm trying to think these things through, and then when you said Earth, now I'm thinking it's a trick question, and I'm all paranoid now. Running out of planets rapidly here.
I know, but that again, you got to remember that I'm only subjecting you to the same tough love treatment of the students that I was treated with when I was a student. Okay, I'm going to tell you because we're going to otherwise run out of time. Okay, so as far as Mercury, the answer is no. All right, as far as Earth, the answer is no.
Eric's out.
Eric's out. As far as Jupiter goes, the answer is no.
Ooh, Charles and Kyle.
As far as Saturn goes, the answer is no. Now, as far as Venus and Neptune from Kathy, the answer is you win. Both. They have equal eccentricities of 0.01.
Okay, she must have heard it subliminally then. She didn't realize she heard it, but it seeped into her consciousness somehow. Because to get an answer like that. Well, I mean, way to go, Kathy. Holy cow.
Yeah. I mean, or maybe she looked it up online. I don't know,
I don't think so.
But here's the thing, okay? Mercury has a eccentricity of 0.2. It's actually fairly elliptical, all right? It's actually almost has an elliptical orbit that's as high as Pluto at 0.25. So Mercury has a very highly elliptical orbit relative to the other planets. Venus, 0.01. All right. Earth, 0.02. Remember, 0 is perfectly circular. All right. Mars, 0.09. Jupiter is 0.05. All right. And Saturn, 0.06. Uranus, 0.05. See, they're all so close. If you went to significant figures and said just one significant figure after the decimal point, then they're all zeros, right? Because the 5
I'm waiting to get to Pluto. How far out of whack is that?
Well, I told you that I gave you that one at the beginning.
Oh, I missed it.
Neptune is 0.01. So based on the data, Venus and Neptune are tied and are curiously the two planets in our solar system that have the most nearly circular orbits. Well, it didn't help Venus, did it? Climate-wise, it's just a little too hot there because it's at the forward end of our habitable zone, closer to the star. And of course, it certainly doesn't help Neptune being so far out of the habitable zone that it just doesn't matter. Okay, so as you can see, eccentricity of zeros are circles, all right? And they're all close, but not quite circular, and that's true. Now, knowing this parameter called the eccentricity, then, comet orbits can be elliptical, all right, and have an eccentricity that is non-zero as well, and they do. In fact, there's no comets that we know of that have eccentricities of 0 unless they've never come into our solar system and are still out there in the Kuiper Belt in orbit or in the Oort cloud, still orbiting in relatively circular orbits around the star from long distance. Now, we say comets can orbit in elliptical fashion. They can have a long or a short period. They have eccentricities that are less than 1. 1 is a really interesting case. When an eccentricity is 1, it's a parabolic orbit. It's an orbit that can either be bound or unbound depending on what might happen to the object. It's the borderline case. Okay? Then we have things that are hyperbolic, where the eccentricities are much greater than 1 or greater than 1 in general. And that usually happens with things that have a lot of speed to begin with, a lot of velocity. More on that in a little bit. But when we talk about elliptical orbiting comets, then, they're also known as a closed orbit object, right? The orbit has a repeating period, right? So it's a closed orbit. It circumscribes an ellipse. It's, if you drew that on paper, you'd have to cross the line to get in. So there's no way in other than crossing that orbital line. All right. And now, usually, high eccentricity, that is, the ellipses are stretched out quite far end to end, and they're squashed, very, very thin. Okay. And the comets usually have a very high eccentricity that is, long and thin ellipses, right? So the eccentricity is, greater than 0, but less than 1. A lot of these comets have eccentricities that are, 0.8, 0.9, right? Much closer to 1, but not at 1, because if they were at 1, then they're no longer required to come back, all right? Because they can get out. So, for example, Comet Atlas Y4, that we have been observing every clear night in the Sky Tour live stream, has an eccentricity of 0.9999, almost 1, right? But in its period, the higher the eccentricity, though, the longer the time it takes for it to come back if it's a captured object, right? The period for this comet is 6,025 years, as we're finding so far. So we won't ever see it again in our lifetimes. Of course, that particular comet is already broken up into at least 3 to 4 different 1 to 2 kilometer size pieces. It really held great promise, by the way, of being one of the greatest comets in history. The great comet of 2020, but it broke apart and now it's fizzling out. But we still look for it on clear nights because it's pretty cool to see how it's broken up. We actually caught the comet breaking up one night. We actually saw the breakup components one really clear night. So Of these elliptical orbiting comets, they're broken into two groups. There's the long period comets and the short period comets. Now, what is a short period comet? It means it comes back faster. So that's for periods of less than 200 years. Long period comets, 200 to several thousand years. All right. And we're going to have a break coming up. But after the break, we'll talk about a little bit more. But just one last thing. Long period comets come from way farther out and have higher eccentricities. All right. So that number is much closer to the number 1. All right. They originate out in the Kuiper Belt past Neptune and come from what's called the scattered disk objects out there. We talked about SDOs, and these are objects that are close enough to Neptune that Neptune can gravitationally affect them. All right. Now, very long period comets are even farther and have longer ellipses. And these, like Atlas Y4, we often talk about, is got that long, many thousands of years. All right. And they come from locations far beyond 50 astronomical units and most likely from the tenuous sphere of objects loosely held by the sun that is called the Oort cloud. Now, we'll have more on this and we'll talk about trajectories of the comets when we come back. Stay tuned.
Okay, nurse, let's get this man to the ER stat.
Right away, doctor.
We see this every day. Heart attack or angina pain due to blocked and clogged arteries. Chelation can remove obstructions or blockages from arteries and help avoid painful and expensive surgery. Now there's Angioprim. It's a liquid oral chelation product that you take with juice. You start to feel the results fast. Angioprim increases blood flow all over the body, and that means more energy and strength to take on the day with less aches and pains. 60 years of research has gone into chelation, and Angioprim is the result. A safe and easy way to unblock your veins and arteries from buildup that slow circulation.
Paging Dr. Jones. Please report to the emergency room right away.
Log on now to angioprim.com. That's ANGIOPRIM.com. Or to speak with a trained consultant. Give Angioprim a call at 954-882-7221. That's 954-882-7221.
Folks, this is very important information. What's to be said about CBD? AncientLifeOil.com. Our CBD is made from hemp and has 0.003 THC, which means this wonderful product won't get you high, no matter what amount you take. What does CBD do for the body? My hands are tied, but you can Google CBD benefits and be astounded. When you're finished reading, you'll want to log on to AncientLifeOil.com. That's AncientLifeOil.com. and purchase. Life is good when you feel good. People are tired of pain. People are asking for non-GMO organic products to help them with, you fill in the blank. Legal in 49 states, and again, our CBD is made from hemp. Ancient Life Oil is about helping people one by one by one. If you wonder how good the product is, the CEO takes it every day without miss. AncientLifeOil.com. That's AncientLifeOil.com. Have a great day.
Hey, is that a new music app?
Yeah, check it out. Surfer Music Discovery. It links to thousands of online stations, but the twist is you see the song names and artists that are now playing live.
That's different. No guessing. Looks like a waterfall of music.
So many formats. Rock, oldies, country, R&B, jazz, and a whole lot more.
How's that spelled?
Surfer. S-U-R-F-R.
Is it expensive?
It's free. No need to sign up or sign in.
Get the Surfer Music app free from Google Play or the App Store.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now. The Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
You listen to us, and we listen to you. And so does the CIA. KGRARadio.com.
Hello and welcome back to Sky Tour Radio. This is Mark D'Antonio, and we're having fun tonight. And, you know, we've been talking about comets. Amanda has been impressing all of you with her tremendous knowledge of astronomy. And I'm just sitting back here and thinking, wow, she's really got it going on. She knows what's happening, and I'm really proud of her. So that said, I also want to note that we will be opening up the phone lines tonight. All right. And the phone lines are 85-KGRA live, or for those of you that like numbers, 855-472-5483. All right. So feel free to give us a call from now until the end of the show if you'd like to ask questions about comets and asteroids. If you call and want to ask a question about something other than comets or asteroids, we may have to put you off. This is a comet and asteroid question night. And Amanda, let me ask you a question.
Okay.
Do you have our call screen up at your end?
I do not, but if you give me a minute, I could.
Okay, because it does not come up for me.
Oh, interesting. Okay. So if you are calling, please stand by.
Yes, please stand by. We are experiencing technical difficulties. Well, not really. I'm not having technical difficulties. My computer is having... it's not even my computer. It might be the site. But anyway, so when we're talking about comets, okay, generally what we want to talk about is how these objects act with different trajectories. Now, we talked about the ones that are elliptical orbits, okay? Those we call orbits because they are periodic. They come back. They're closed orbits, all right? And we know that we will never see, for instance, Comet Atlas Y4 that we always see in Sky Tour live stream. We'll never see it again. We're actually watching the death of a comet. We're actually watching the end, most likely, of Comet Atlas Y4. It is actually... basically trying to evaporate itself as it gets closer to the sun. It won't be closest to the sun until May 31st. It'll be closest to us on May 23rd. And that closest to us is going to be 73 million miles or so, which is not such a big deal. That's many, 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 many times the distance of the moon from the Earth. So nothing to worry about there. And even if it was less than that, it wouldn't be a problem. Now, we are having an issue with the call screen, so I'm not sure how well that's going to work. Our esteemed producer, Bill Skywatcher, will have to get on that because neither Amanda or I can get into that screen for calls.
No, the site is crashing when I try to get in. But we're working on it, folks. Welcome to Live Radio.
Would you like to take a call right now? We have Ronald on hold. Would you guys like to take that call?
Not quite yet. We're almost there. But
all right. Cue me in when you want him on.
I will. Thank you, Bill, our esteemed producer. You know, that guy, he works all hours. It's a thankless job. So we thank him as best we can. We say, Bill, great job, And the man does he puts more hours into this than I think anybody else in history. All right. So I appreciate him very much. And I'm sure you all do too, because he is really responsible for bringing everything you hear to you.
Yeah, there literally would not be a show without him.
No, that's correct.
I mean, in every aspect of the word, not just producing it, but I mean, pitching the whole idea to get it on, fighting for us to get the 2 hours,
putting it in the
being here every Sunday, getting it archived, edited. I mean,
he does it all. The guy is just incredible. And on top of that, he has a dog named Tycho. Okay, and that's what I named one of my dogs that I had, Tycho, and I had the other one was Kepler, an astronomer's dogs, right? Tycho and Kepler. And just like in real life, Tycho and Kepler were kind of at each other's throats a lot, academically and personally between themselves. They had arguments about science. And Tycho and Kepler, my dogs, were at each other's throats as well. Kepler didn't want any part of Tycho sometimes, and Tycho would say, come on, play with me. So, there's that. So I kind of like that. And when I saw that they were like that with each other, I said, hey, that looks like Tycho and Kepler. That's the name. Anyway, let's talk about the orbits of the comets. Now, we talked about the elliptical orbits. There's now the next type of orbit where the eccentricity is not less than 1, but it equals 1. That's a special case. It's the special case. This trajectory is known as being on the border between a closed and an open orbit. All right? And that closed and open orbit thing is really where the object, namely the comet, is sort of on the fence. If it gets disturbed or perturbed in some way, the comet could end up in a captured orbit, but if it's not, it could end up in an orbit that will take it away from the star forever. All right, and that's something that's kind of important. And most objects we see are comets that are most comets we see are objects that are very, very near but not equal to 1. Okay, most of the elliptical orbit, obviously all the elliptical orbit ones are, because they're captured. So when the eccentricity equals 1, that's a special case. It's called a parabolic trajectory. Parabolic trajectory. And those are the kind that are on that border. But then there's another one. And this is one you've heard of too, because you know of some objects that have done this very same thing. The one that we see where the eccentricity is greater than 1, sometimes much higher than 1, these are called hyperbolic trajectory orbits. Now, they usually have a velocity that they acquired somewhere else. Like if they were out in the Oort cloud and they got snagged by a passing star as the stars orbit the galaxy, these objects ended up coming into the inner solar system and come whipping through because they had velocity initially of their own. That, for example, was Comet Borisov. Comet Borisov, interstellar object, came through here at an eccentricity of 3.4. All right. So it clearly had a lot of energy moving into the inner solar system from wherever it came from. All right. So I just wanted to talk about those trajectories and orbits before we actually start talking about the anatomy of a comet. But before we do that, I'd like to take our caller. We have at least one caller. We have Ronald. So if you could bring up Ronald, let's listen to what he has to say.
Hello.
Hello,
Mark
Ronald.
And Amanda.
Hi, Ronald. How are you?
How's it going?
Doing good, going good. I really hope that Daryl feels better real soon and he's back on the show with you guys. I miss saying his name when he's not here.
We all miss him. He's a valuable part of the show. I do hope he's feeling better too.
He's vital.
Yeah.
So what's going on, Ronald?
I had a question about. Well, we were talking about the comet, the new one we've been watching, and it's breaking up, of course.
Yeah.
Now, we don't know how old it is, but now what I wanted to find out is what is the difference between the creation of the asteroid and comet? For instance, the asteroid is from the beginning almost, right? Beginning of the explosion, whatever.
Well, it's actually a little easier than that. The asteroids, the comets, the planets, and the sun all appear to have formed at the same time. All right, in place. There was a gigantic solar nebula that went out, obviously many, many astronomical units, thousands of astronomical units, and this star that we call our sun managed to snare a lot of that matter and mass. And it ended up being something that ended up on the list of objects that would become permanently orbiting the sun, and that's what we see. So we have a solar system that's actually pretty in depth, and so when we look at a comet, we're looking at something that formed 4.6 billion years ago when the Earth formed. When we see an asteroid, it too formed around then. But I do want to say one thing about comets and asteroids, Ronald, which is a good question. Comets differ from asteroids in the fact that they actually have a coma, that is a haze of gas around them that is created by the sun from its energy. We talked about that before. Asteroids do not have that. But guess what? There are such things as extinct comets. And comets do have a lifetime. And when we look at a comet, we don't necessarily know when it's going to go extinct. because we can't really tell if it's, done giving off the matter and molecules that we see. But it is actually pretty interesting to actually watch comets in action. And so we do know of some comets that look like they're at the verge of ending because we have seen them before. They're short-term comets that have come back every few years, and it's less and less and less. So we know that it's whittling itself away. See what I mean?
So there's maybe a couple of reasons for a comet to be gone, to end its life. Of course, it burns itself out.
Well, because it's getting rid of it evaporates, all the volatiles.
Mm.
But what's left over, by the way, what's left over when a comet evaporates, all the stuff that we end up seeing when we see a comet come by, when all that stuff is gone, well, then it can actually be indistinguishable from a small asteroid. And so to go to Amanda's question from before in Sky Tour live stream when we had it, and to your question now, comets and asteroids can look the same depending where you look at them in their evolution. When a comet is extinct, it's basically just a very dark black object, which is the dark black stuff is carbon-based compounds like the tar inside of a gas grill, after cooking a lot,
That's interesting. And then now I remember in the last few years, just one last question, I'll let someone else call. But there has been at least two comets, or not comets, maybe, comets maybe, that have either one ran into the sun, and then one broke up and ran into Jupiter. What caused that orbit problem?
Well, see, that it wasn't an orbit problem per se. It was that the comet ended up being brought in to the inner solar system by whatever disturbed it, wherever it came from. And the trajectory that it came in on was a terminal trajectory where it was going to hit the sun. And then Shoemaker-Levy, which was a periodic comet that was out kind of in the region, it would go out as far as some of the outer planets, not out into the Kuiper Belt. Shoemaker-Levy ended up getting captured by Jupiter. Not sure what caused that. Maybe it was just a disturbance that happened to it, a once in a life of a comet disturbance that happened to it that we don't know about. But it's a very good question as to what caused Shoemaker-Levy to strike Jupiter, for instance. But thanks, Ronald. That was a really good question.
Well, thank you very much. I'll let someone else call. And great show. And
other callers on hold, but that's fine. Thanks for the call, Ronald.
All right. Talk to you next time. Bye-bye.
Sure. Okay, and I think we have another call waiting for us.
Kyle from New York.
All right, Kyle from New York. Hello, you're on the air. Kyle, are you there?
Yes, I am. Hey.
Hey, Kyle. Welcome to Sky Tour Radio. What's going on, man?
Hi, Kyle.
Not much. Just wanted to say I hope he's feeling better, Daryl. And I also had a question about it was a comet from that was it Hale-Bops, or when they were able to determine its velocity and stuff like that. Was that calculated by orbit time and period and stuff like that?
Yeah, we determine things called orbital elements, and one of those. And one of those will give us the speed of the comet basically, and the velocity once you know its direction, and then we can calculate the entire orbit and then make predictions as to when it's going to come back. These are very important to do, as you know, because if we don't calculate them, then they have to remain on the potential danger list, right? And there is a danger list for some objects. Now, had Oumuamua, which was on a hyperbolic trajectory as well. In other words, it came with its own velocity very, very fast into our solar system, whipped around the sun, and left. Okay, like, see you later, bye. I was like, wow, that was fast. In fact, we didn't catch it till it was almost leaving, right? So Oumuamua, as an example, had something like that come in with time to calculate its orbit, we would have known that it was not going to do anything dangerous to us. But until we caught it, and in fact, we didn't catch it, like I said, until after it could have hit the Earth already, then we would not have known. We would not have known its orbital elements. But if we could have figured out those orbital elements, then we could have seen that it was a hyperbolic trajectory, and depending on how high its hyperbolic trajectory was, we could actually figure out where it came from, and we kind of have been able to figure those things out. But we depend on being able to capture things well in advance to be able to calculate the orbits.
Right.
See what I mean?
Yeah, because the astronomy class is actually on that subject, which is the orbits and stuff like that, which we are kind of confused with the terms sometimes.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's about
you have to be careful between saying orbit and trajectory, right? An orbit means it's going to come back, and that means it's going to be an elliptical orbit. There's no parabolic trajectory there. There's no hyperbolic trajectory there. It's merely an elliptical orbit. It could be long and thin or short and fat, but it's still going to be an orbit. But the parabolic and hyperbolic characteristics are always trajectories.
Right.
Which I think, yeah. So where are you taking astronomy?
I'm actually taking astronomy at OCC for college.
Okay, what's OCC?
Onondaga Community College.
Oh, very cool. You enjoying it?
Huh? Yeah, I'm
enjoying
enjoying it. The online platform's a bit, iffy, but
yeah,
we're getting used to it.
Well, that's what you need right now, obviously. So,
yeah,
so that'll change, but that's good. Well, right. I'm glad that you called finally, and it's good to talk to you. I know you've been in SkyTour live stream. You're very active in there, and now you're here on SkyTour Radio. We're happy to have you on to talk with us. I'm glad that you came on to
like I said,
meet us.
I'm always gonna. Yep. Like I said, I'm always probably gonna keep watching. So.
Awesome.
That's
awesome.
Yeah,
it's gonna be like my daily routine. So.
He's one of our newest subscribers on SkyTour live stream. We like Live Observatory, and
since I first noticed his name show up in chat, I don't know if he's missed a live show yet, and now he's on at KGRA, so that's awesome.
Yeah.
I really enjoy what you're seeing. I mean, that's the best compliment you can get, I think.
Right.
They like what they see and they keep coming back.
Yeah, I joined finally today because I was having trouble with the website loading up the Discord server.
Okay.
I bet a lot of people are using it right now.
Yeah, it could be. I mean, there's a lot of people home, Kyle, and so.
Oh, yeah.
I'm glad you made it, though, right in time.
Yes, you did indeed.
Definitely.
I want to thank you for coming out.
Yeah, no problem, guys.
All right. Well, look, we look forward to seeing you on the next SkyTour live stream, and if you have any other questions, you can call us on the next SkyTour Radio, of course, and we'll keep up the communication offline as well.
Right, yeah, definitely. All right, and have a good live stream, and yeah.
All right. Well, very cool, Kyle.
Thanks for your call. Be well. Stay safe.
Yeah, stay safe in New York.
In New York, yeah. I know. I was just thinking that as I said, be safe. I mean, I'm so accustomed to saying it to everybody now, especially now, and yikes, yeah, New York.
Yeah. But you know something, I did a radio show earlier on another person's radio show, Chant Hannah's actually, and we talked about Chandra Wickramasinghe, who has a theory. Say that 3 times fast. We talked about his theory that maybe the virus that we're suffering from now was an extraterrestrial virus delivered by a meteor that exploded over China. I think it was October, actually, when that meteor exploded. Now, is it possible? It's improbable at best, but he was making the point that we can't rule it out, I think. I don't think he was saying it because you can't possibly say it was definitely from that. We think we know. I mean, they've been able to sequence the genome of this, and it doesn't look so very different to us that it would have come from an extraterrestrial origin. I would think that an extraterrestrial origin for anything like this would probably be relatively different, and don't forget what comes with the virus is going to be potentially something like RNA as opposed to DNA. And this RNA, is something that resembles other RNAs that we know about. It it's similar to the SARS formulation. See, so when they sequenced it, that's part of the process. So one of the things was, could this meteor that struck cause that? I would say no. I'm on the fence that says no. No evidence. It doesn't seem to indicate that. But we can't rule out that maybe someday a pathogen from space could actually strike us. We can't rule it out, but I'd say that this particular thing, it's similar enough to stuff we already know. It doesn't have to have an extraterrestrial origin. It could have just come from here, So, and when we look at what's, say, in a comet, okay, we talk about the nucleus of a comet. Let's talk about that, actually, because the anatomy of the comet, and we have a few minutes left. The anatomy of a comet is it has a nucleus, it has an ion tail, and has a dust tail. And we'll talk about what those are quickly. The nucleus of the comet's anywhere from a quarter mile across to around 15 miles across. Now, that's 400 meters to about 24 kilometers or so. Now, it's only a rough estimate. They can be larger, they can be a little smaller. But the nucleus is made of little bits of rock and ice of various kinds, all cemented together by the frozen gases on its surface and that permeate underground in the nucleus, in the deep cold of the distant outer solar system. And it's there that they were born 4.6 billion years ago, here by the grace of a perturbing star or an errant asteroid bump that brought them into the inner solar system, where they pass around and now end up becoming part of our nighttime show. But what are these frozen gases on the surface of a comet? Well, certainly there is water ice, okay, H2O ice. There's also carbon dioxide ice, all right? There's molecules of cyanogen. That's that CN, carbon and nitrogen, parentheses around both, and a little 2 down below. So it's like CN occurs in pairs, CN, okay? And we have that as well. And there's other trapped gases like ammonia, all right, NH3, and methane, CH4, all right? And these are molecules that have the molecules that have carbon atoms together forming, well, I should say, we also have diatomic carbon, which are molecules of these carbon atoms that are together, carbon to carbon, and that forms a C2 molecule, right? So, and these are literally a piece of the original solar system from the very creation of our solar system, held in deep freeze stasis for billions of years. I think that is fundamentally the most impressive fact, that we can reach into them. We have photographed Comet Tempel, Comet Churyumov-Gerasimenko, and several other comets, okay, up close and personal, and seen what the nucleus looks like. Now, as far as the density of comets, we look at them, when we look at Churyumov-Gerasimenko, you see what looks like a rocky terrain, and we know it has ice on it and stuff. But you have to understand what's actually going on inside the comet. The density is really a lot less. When you look at a comet like Churyumov-Gerasimenko, the Rosetta mission comet, remember? It kind of looked like a peanut, okay? It was really the density of like white styrofoam inside, really, not rock. And it's actually lower than that. It was more like a big sponge, okay, with lots of air and not air per se, but voids, I should say, lack of material, lack of mass. So that's what a comet nucleus really is. It's a sort of a spongy core. And this is why perhaps comets can break apart so easily and fracture. As for the color, okay, that's something that I think is really interesting. As for the color, well, they're almost black. They're, think of carbonized vegetables, okay, or the sticky stuff that your charcoal grill makes, as I mentioned earlier. The carbon-based compounds, that's what the surface is covered with. So you'll say, well, why do they look gray in the pictures? Because they take a long enough exposure so that black starts to look gray to the camera so you can see it. It's just a way to get the picture, Now, beyond that nucleus, that means it's a very active location with the volatile stuff that can just be boiled off by the sun. It has a tail that's a dusty tail that trails out behind it in its orbit, and it follows the path of the orbit. And that path of the orbit takes it, around the sun and so forth. And if the Earth ever goes through that, well, then we see meteor showers because that's where those come from. And then there's a second tail on a comet, and that's called the ion tail. What's that? The solar wind blows against this comet, and because it's a charged wind, then the particles that are ionized on the surface of the comet are getting blown back behind the comet, and that forms a colorful tail that looks blue. So comets will look like they have a dusty tail and then a second pointy tail, always aiming away from the sun, which is very cool. Now, if you keep coming to Sky Tour live stream, we will show you more pictures, and I'll show you pictures of the early comet and the later comet that we saw, Atlas Y4, and you'll see that beautiful ion tail. And the dust tail remains to be seen. But anyway, you have once again wasted a perfectly good 2 hours with us here on Sky Tour Radio. I hope you're happy with yourselves. We certainly enjoyed wasting it with you, and we had a great time talking to you guys. And I know that I can speak for Amanda when I say that we hope you'll all come back again, and do subscribe to Sky Tour Livestream and hang out with us there to see the live observatory in action. Amanda, I want to just say one last thing, and that is to all the folks out there, when you go outside, keep looking up.
Because now you have no excuse.
Oh.
You think I would have had something worked out by now, eh? I've only had like a month.
Well, I said keep looking up, and you usually say?
Except while you're driving, but
Go.
you're staying home, so...
Yeah, but you got to go to the store. Anyway, folks, we'll see you later. Thank you for coming to Sky Tour Radio.
Thank you to Bill, our wonderful producer.
Yeah, I thanked him before, and I'll thank him again. He's the man that makes it all.
No, he deserves it all.
Yeah, he does. Thanks, folks. We'll see you next week. Good night.